Liz. My name is Liz, and I am SheJumps' operations coordinator. I'm located in Central Oregon on Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs land. And we'd love to hear from where y'all are coming from. So if you want to share your first name, city, and state in the chat, we'd just love to see who you are and where you're coming from. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We're really excited that you're here and that you have some interest in joining us at SheJumps. This information session is just going to be an overview of SheJumps, our strategic plan, our programs, the different regions that we offer in, and the different volunteer roles that we have across the organization. So you're going to hear from me, a SheJumps staff member, and also some other staff members and some other volunteers about the different experiences that we've had working for the organization. And then we'll also have some time for questions and answers at the end of our little intro. So next up, so this is just a little introduction to SheJumps. So SheJumps' mission is to increase the participation of women and girls in outdoor activities, and our vision is to unearth the potential of all women and girls through outdoor play and connection to nature. This vision has grown over the last 16 years into a national nonprofit that produces more than 200 programs and events each year. And at those 200 plus programs, we serve more than 6,000 participants annually. And these opportunities for communities across the United States are made possible by our volunteer team that consists of over 120 people. We really work together with our volunteers to offer women and girls of all ages opportunities to engage in outdoor recreation activities in every season of the year. We try to all come together to make this statement true. If she can do it, I can do it. All right, so here we're just introducing the girafficorn. This is an important part of SheJumps. If you're not familiar with the girafficorn, it's half giraffe and half unicorn and all magic. We say that the girafficorn represents persevering and keeping your head held high, with your feet on the ground and your eyes focused where you want to go. The girafficorn can stand as a reminder to keep the spirit of play and possibility alive when taking the jumps towards our next potential. If you're ever at a SheJumps event, you'll see this girafficorn. Sometimes we have golden girafficorns that make appearances at events, and you'll also see this girafficorn all over our merchandise. We love it. So just to chat a little bit about our strategic plan, we really believe in transparency as an organization and really want our volunteers as well as the public to really know where we are, where we're going, where we've been, and just some of the goals that we have. So goal one is a really big goal for us as an organization. It's about having a sustainable business model. And with this, we are trying to identify new revenue streams and also increase revenue streams so that we can keep these programs happening. Our programming is growing, but we need to increase revenue to be able to keep it going. So that's something we've been focused on a lot in the last couple of years, and we're continuing to focus on. We also are putting a lot of intention into further developing fundraising channels. And really leaning into integrating fundraising at all levels of the organization to really keep us going and think about how we can keep SheJumps around for the long term. Our second goal is around diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and inclusivity. So in the last couple of years, some accomplishments that we've had with this, we have published a diversity page on our website, which we didn't previously have. And we really hope that that page outlines and strengthens our public view of our commitment to DEI work. And also, we hope that it stands as like a transparent statement of where we are as an organization with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also where we're going with it. We have also established inclusive language practices organization-wide, and that's something that we're constantly working on and tweaking, but we do have organizational standards around inclusive language and best language practices to use with every person that we talk to and interface with. This last year, too, we were also able to offer trainings on diversity, equity, and inclusion from a BIPOC-led organization to all of our volunteers and staff members. So moving forward with this goal, we're kind of looking more into the data with this goal and looking at our programs and seeing what programs require different amounts of skill and equipment so that we can see how accessible our programs are and making sure that we're offering an equitable range of programs. So what that means is that we're looking at beginner programs, advanced programs, how many programs require like specialized equipment like skis or just the shoes you have on your feet, and making sure that we're able to offer those programs in that variety in all of the different regions. Our third goal, to talk on that a little bit, is leadership and wellness. We believe that leadership development is crucial and is a really important part of engaging in outdoor recreation, especially for our volunteers. So we have started doing more leadership development and wellness webinars online that are just different trainings and seminars, talks from different leaders. And then we also have some in-person style speaker series events that happen from local leaders that share their experiences and knowledge. Our fourth goal is around environmental stewardship. And that one, we're trying to build more partnerships with environmental organizations. One example of this is a recent partnership we have is with the United States Forest Service, and we are working with them to provide junior wildland firefighting educational groups. So we just had our first one last month or the month before here in Bend, and it was awesome. So hopefully it's the start of many programs to come. So that is all I have on our strategic plan, and I'm going to pass it over to Sarah.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz. My name is Sarah. I am the program coordinator for SheJumps. So with that being said, I'm going to talk a little bit about programming now that Liz has given you like a great background of what SheJumps is and kind of what we stand for. And as she mentioned, SheJumps is committed to providing opportunities for transformational outdoor play for women and girls everywhere, regardless of their background or their ability. We really want to meet people where they're at in their outdoor journey. And to do that, we offer programs at like all different skill levels. So that can mean we have free or low cost intro programs, such as like our Getting Started series, or other events of just like learning how to get into a sport or just the outdoors in general. And then we also have more intermediate geared events. And those can be around like building community, finding more folks to get outside with, or just improving your already existing skills. And then we also provide some more advanced courses, and a couple of examples of those are like our Alpine Finishing School or Alpine Finishing School or River Finishing School, which Alpine Finishing School is like in the backcountry ski and snowboard world, and then River Finishing School is fishing, and it's kind of like that next step of really elevating your game, whether it's around like mountaineering in avalanche terrain, stuff like that, or like maybe on the river learning kind of how to be a guide or what like a river guide position could look like. So that we really like offer a full range of skill level events. And then along with that, we also just have such a range in like the topics of our events, as you've already heard about, like fishing and avalanche or snow science stuff. We do like running, biking, wellness, as Liz was saying earlier. We've had like an intro to skateboarding event. Like there's really, as long as it's like we're tied to outdoors and getting folks outside and like loving life, we're stoked to do it. And along with like our programs, we also offer some scholarship programs, and our two main ones right now are our Snowpack Scholarship, which actually has two parts, and one is for avalanche level 1 courses, and one is for providing icon ski passes to women of color. So that's been a really successful and awesome program that we've been working on for a while. And a little bit a more newer scholarship program we have is our Wilderness First Aid course, or First Aid Scholarship. And those are great. And then in addition to some of our more technical events, we do a lot of like community-based events that's just geared towards getting folks together, meeting new friends. It's not necessarily like, let's go learn how to rock climb or something like that. Just like, let's get together and have a blast. And maybe like film screenings are an example of that. Or even just, we just do meetups at like breweries, or we recently had one that was at like a dog park / brewery. That seemed really awesome. So it's such a range, and really like volunteers are the ones who are organizing and planning these events. And as they get a little bit more technical, that's when we start to partner with either like bike shops, if it's like a bike maintenance course, or certified guiding companies for like level 1 courses, avalanche level 1 courses and things like that. And let's see. Yeah, so we serve like women and girls of all ages. I think I've talked mostly about our women's programs, but all of our youth programming is what we call wild skills events. A couple examples of those are like our junior wildland firefighter course that Liz was just talking about, and junior ski patrol. Both of those are really designed to let girls work with female professionals in these fields and gain exposure to potential career paths that they maybe like didn't even know existed. And they're all really fun. Like as a volunteer, it's super exciting and fun too. And yeah, really like our business model as a whole really relies on like corporate sponsors, fundraising, and revenue from paid events in order to help us facilitate our goal of just providing more opportunities to women everywhere and girls everywhere. And our goal is to have 35% of our programming be free or low cost. And so by having some of our slightly higher priced events, people that attend those events are helping us in turn provide free events or scholarship events. So it's all like a cycle and everything builds off each other. Next slide. Let's see. Sweet, thanks. Staff roles. So this is a meeting all about volunteering. So I'm not going to go into staff roles too much, but you can see like the 6 roles here. And the main point here is that I wanted to like get across is that there are only 6 staff members, and it really is like volunteers is what makes up the like the bread and butter, like the body of SheJumps. It's all like volunteer based. It's so important to what we do. They're the ones who carry out our events and make things happen on the ground and do so much more beyond this. The staff team is always working really hard to support our volunteers and make sure they have what they need to be successful and feel supported. And so we just want you to know, as a volunteer, you're never alone. Along with like the volunteer team that you're on, there's staff support that's there for you all the time. So there's that. And then I'm not going to go into these roles, but if you come onto the team, like you'll learn more about who's who and who to go for what. But we want to talk about volunteer roles tonight. So we've got kind of 4 rostered volunteer roles and then our on-call volunteer role as well. So I'll start from the top. Both the regional coordinators and regional directors, those 2 positions really make up our regional leadership team. So regional director, we have 7 regions right now. One's currently inactive, so more like 6. And a region consists of like about 3 teams or 3 states in the West, and then a few more when you get further east. But as a regional director, you really supervise volunteers in whatever your region is, and you provide strategic program support to your team. This person oversees the regional coordinators in their region, and they help ensure that whatever the overall SheJumps goal is, that they are being able to like help carry that out within their region. And they kind of also really work closely with staff teamwork as a liaison between staff and the volunteers in their region. And then the regional coordinator, this is like a state specific position. So they're kind of like the main regional coordinator leader for their state. And they work really closely with the event coordinators and community ambassadors in their state to help them plan events and bring like the SheJump mission to their state. They, they like they support the implementation and execution of all events. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're at every single event, because that would be a lot, but they know what's happening in their state, and they're providing support to their team, and just really working to ensure that like what's happening in their state is in line with the overall SheJumps goal. And then that brings me to event coordinators. These folks plan and host events that align with SheJump's strategic plan. We ask for event coordinators to host 2 templated events per year, with the opportunity to host more if they want. Let's see, each event, it really depends on what your event is, but can range anywhere from like 10 to 15 hours worth of work planning and hosting the event. And as a staff team and the rest of your like regional coordinator team, they provide support of like what sort of events you can have. We have a lot of toolkits to help you, so you're not like starting from square zero if you want to plan an event. We have a lot of different event ideas and event goals where we want to see in specific regions. So we're here to help you bring those events to life. And then our next position is community ambassador. These people are also like specific to their state and their local region. They provide event support and grow awareness of SheJumps within their local community. It can look like volunteering at local events and helping event coordinators wherever they need, posting in regional Facebook groups or on other social media about upcoming events, connecting with local businesses, like thanking local sponsors. There's really like, it's a really broad but really exciting position of just helping SheJumps grow in your region and bringing more people into the SheJumps fold. And then we also have an on-call volunteer role, and this is if you're interested in volunteering with SheJumps, but you don't know if you have maybe the time commitment or just the ability to commit to like one of these more formal roles. You can always, and at any time of the year, this isn't just during like our current recruitment period, you can sign up to be an on-call volunteer, and these are folks that like event coordinators will reach out to this list if they're doing an event and need some extra volunteers. So it's really like a case-by-case basis, and you can say yes and raise your hand when you want, and then like you're not committed to anything. And so here, that's kind of a lot, but I think this will hopefully help you understand like how the volunteer structure works. And I apologize, I'm not like a graphic designer, so this was my best bet at making a little flowchart. It took me ridiculously long considering how simple it is. But okay, we're gonna take a look at like the Rockies region. So that consists of Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. So within that region, there's one regional director, and then underneath them, there's 3 regional coordinators. And I say 3, but actually there's 4. Most states have 1 regional coordinator, but there are instances where there's 2. And right now, Colorado has 2 regional coordinators. But so you have your Montana regional coordinator, Wyoming regional coordinator, and 2 or 1 Colorado regional coordinator. And then those people each oversee like the volunteers in their state. And each state consists of event coordinators and community ambassadors. And then on-call volunteers are also there just to help out like wherever needed. And there's not really like a specific person that oversees them. If anything, the regional coordinator kind of keeps track of that list of who's an on-call volunteer and shares that with event coordinators when they need more coordinators for their event. So yeah, that's kind of how that looks. And then here, like just the zoomed out view, this is our whole region. So you can see the different regions and where we have like more stronger of a presence. And with that, now I'm going to pass it over. We're lucky enough to be joined by multiple volunteers here tonight with like that have various positions. So to start, I'm going to pass it over to Mara, who is our Colorado event coordinator, and she can share a little bit more about her experience.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sarah, for the intro. It was great to see so many people in the intros saying they're from Colorado. So I hope you're all interested in helping out. We have a lot of momentum in the past year. I previously was their regional coordinator, and I'm shifting now to be an event coordinator. And I'll just share a couple of like highlights from the past couple of seasons of volunteering with SheJumps. But I think like for me, one of the coolest parts, there's 2 main things. So one is the ability to like connect with a new community. I think as adults, especially when you move to a new region, and you're in when you're like working, you're not in school anymore, it's a lot harder to make friends, especially friends who have like similar passions and interests, and really go beyond that just like biking buddy to like the actual deeper friendship. And so I found like by hosting events that are more like meetup events where people are able to like connect over a certain type of thing, it's created for me like a great community, but it's also enabling other people to connect with each other. So for example, this summer we're doing like we already did one bike meetup, partnering with Arc'teryx, who's been a really great like local sponsor, actually national sponsor of us. And we're going to do another like bike meetup for like people who are interested in biking at more of like a downhill bike park. So that's like a pretty simple event to run. So it's easy to get those on the calendars. It's really just like partnering with like a location, or if you're just pedaling, then you can just really run it yourself. But so those are like two pretty easy examples of events that I feel like have a big impact, but are pretty quick to plan. We've also done a couple of partner like guide-led events this past winter with local guiding companies and avalanche education programs. So I think one of the coolest parts for me is that being able to like plan events that I'm passionate about as an event coordinator. So like I don't fish, I don't skateboard, so like I'm probably not going to plan those two types of events, but like I love mountain biking and I love backcountry skiing. And so being able to plan events that help people receive avalanche education courses or meet other like backcountry partners or get connected with other resources locally have been like really successful events for us. So we did like an in-store event at an Arc'teryx store where we did like sort of like a classroom version of like getting into the backcountry, and we had a huge amount of people show up, and it was really cool. Like we got to learn from guides, but also connect with local other people who might want to like continue in their journey to backcountry education together. So that's been like a little bit about my experience, and I hope that everyone in the Colorado region that has been on this call, like, wants to apply to be a volunteer. Like we could always use more event coordinators. There's so much need for more programs around here, and so many like local partners and brands who are really stoked to work with us.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Mara. And then next I'll pass it over to Dione, who is our Utah community ambassador. Take it away, Dione.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Hi everyone, my name is Dione. I am in the Ogden area, but kind of go to Salt Lake a lot. That's kind of how everything happens. Super excited to see a lot of people showing up from the Salt Lake City area. I feel like last time there weren't this many, so yay. Yeah, so I've been a community ambassador for I think probably like 2.5 years now. And initially, I decided to opt for that position because I was in school. I didn't have much time to really like dedicate to something like putting an event together because, I want to make sure that I can give what I can. I don't want to leave empty promises, pretty much. So I started doing that, and I really liked that position because especially like if you have a really busy life, it's like a really good way to stay involved. And essentially you're like your event coordinator's right hand. Like you provide them with a lot of support, whether that be like helping promoting events or like doing like stand-ins. If someone can't show up, like you can go to that event and be like, hey, like I'm here to represent SheJumps. So I think honestly the most important thing for one of these roles is just to kind of commit yourself to it, because there's every now and then that like, yes, we'll have events happen, but then we don't really have anyone that can show up. So if we can have like representations, show the community that we're there to continue not only spreading the word, but help out like all these women and girls, like that'll be amazing, right? I am super excited to see. Here's the reason why I'm so excited to see so many people from Salt Lake. I feel like it's been kind of dormant lately. We have a really small group at the moment, and we're all trying our best to kind of like kick things up and like rev them up. But the fact that I see so many people, it makes me really excited. There's so many amazing, not only like other organizations that there's the opportunity to partner up with, but there's also a level of community that is kind of sometimes left unseen. I recently, I don't know if you've been following us for a minute, but we had SheJumps into the Canyon, and it was one of the biggest, and it has been one of the biggest and like staple programs that SheJumps put. It's been going on, I think, probably 16, 17 years with a little hiatus due to the pandemic. But it's essentially to serve underrepresented women and girls from the west of the valley. And these are all immigrant families who don't have the resources and means to get to the outdoors. So just partnering with other nonprofits like that and providing these opportunities to these girls and families that otherwise they would never be able to take part of is one of the amazing things that I love about volunteering with SheJumps. And I just cannot wait to see how we can like keep moving forward with that as the years come, and hopefully we can get just more events going and just make things happen again. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say for now.
Sweet, thank you, Dione. Next up, we are lucky enough to have Laura here, who is a California community ambassador, to share a little bit more about her experience.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I'm currently located in Bay Area in California. I'm a Berkeley student in engineering. Originally from the Northeast. I'm actually going to be transitioning over to the Northeast team fairly soon. I'm moving over to Vermont, so I was really stoked to see all the Vermont names coming up in the chat. That was awesome. Yeah, I think I would echo some of the challenges that have been said already around like getting people back together after the pandemic. I feel like California, especially, it's such a large land area, and all of our volunteers are really, really spread out. So it's actually like pretty rare that I meet other volunteers in person. And recently I've just gotten to meet like April, who's our California coordinator, and that's been awesome, but it's been kind of slow going, I would say, after the pandemic. But yeah, the reason I really love volunteering is partially getting to meet other women who are really passionate about things that I love to do, and yeah, connecting with other people in my area, because I was so new to California when I moved here. It was really nice to, like, even if it was online, to have a little community was really nice. And then I think you know, outside of outdoor activities, I'm really passionate about just, you know, improving women's representation overall. I'm an engineer and a scientist, and women are also like not very well represented here either. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about these things, and yeah, being a volunteer, SheJumps has kind of helped me think about these issues more broadly. And it really means a lot to me to see, like, especially for, like, the young girls programming, seeing these girls have opportunities for mountain activities that I really wish I would have had when I was their age. So yeah, it's just been a really, really heartwarming experience. I would say, as a community ambassador, something to think about is like kind of your network. Originally, when I started out, I was, you know, I kind of think that like my personal network is not very big, right? So like, you know, if I post something on a social media account, it doesn't have a huge reach, but you can start to think like a little more broadly about what your community is. So like, I'm at Berkeley, right? So I have like a college outdoor group, and I have my undergrad, you know, outdoors group, and I volunteer with like NICA, like youth mountain biking organization, and like all of these things that you can kind of reach out to and sort of build that network, and sort of start to spread that the mission that SheJumps has is something to think about if you're going into being in that community ambassador role, because I think it can be really helpful. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Sweet, thank you so much, Laura. So now you've heard from event coordinators and community ambassadors, and then next is myself. So I'm introducing me. I'm also the Wyoming regional coordinator, and I've been volunteering with SheJumps for about almost 5 years now. And I started in Colorado as what's the equivalent of an event coordinator. It was like a different name back then, and then I became the Colorado regional coordinator, and then I've moved to the Tetons, and now I'm the Wyoming regional coordinator. And we're definitely like a smaller team, which definitely presents its challenges. And in my role, that also means like I'm still doing event coordinating stuff, which I actually really love. So that's very okay with me. I really enjoy putting on events and creating opportunities for women to connect with each other in the outdoors, as well as cultivating spaces that allow women and girls to learn and grow in their skill set. I just love like the feeling or like seeing when like the moment clicks for someone. That's really exciting. Like in a mountain bike maintenance course when someone's like, oh, I've always wondered like how to fix that or like what this was for. And then they like get it. And it like just makes so much more sense because someone's just taking the time to like show them and provide like a hands-on learning experience. And it's just awesome to see them like leaving feeling so much more empowered than they might have been when they walked in. And like another event that I think I've talked about a little bit, but is Junior Ski Patrol. That's probably one of my favorite events that we do. And I posted a couple in Colorado and now at Jackson Hole. It's basically like a day camp where girls come and we team up with like the women on the patrol team, and there's different stations that they go through and learn about like what a patroller does in their day. And it's just so fun to see like how excited the girls are about the different things that are going. Like they love the avalanche dogs and get so excited about that. It's just really cool to see them like see essentially themselves in these women patrollers and be like, oh, that's something that I could do. And like they maybe never thought about that before. And it's just a really, really fun and special experience. So that's really like what I love about being a part of this organization. And now that I'm in like a regional coordinator role, it's also fun to be able to like help other people put on those events, just like your reach gets bigger and bigger. And so I love working with like newer volunteers to help them figure out like what events work best in their community or like lines up with their interests, as Mara was talking about earlier. It's a really fun and exciting spot to be in. And to go back a little bit, like I initially first joined SheJumps kind of like, I feel like I have a very similar background to Laura. I am a civil engineer and I had just moved to a new city and was in a really like male dominated company and was struggling to find people to get outside with. And so I saw that SheJumps was volunteering or was recruiting, and I was really drawn to the mission of like expanding access to the outdoors for more women and girls. And also was like, as a benefit, I'll meet more people to do things with outside. So that seems great. And it's been like amazing how much of an impact that like one decision has had on my life in ways that I didn't expect at all. You meet so many special people through the process, and it's funny being here tonight. Actually, like Mara and I first met in at a junior ski patrol at Colorado. She signed up to volunteer, and like after that, we went backcountry skiing once, and then now we're like best buds and do so much stuff together. We don't even like live in the same state anymore, but I see her so frequently. This last weekend we were at like a mutual friend's wedding, and we were doing like biking and boating, and it was great. And like all that was because of like one SheJumps event, which is really cool. And even now that I'm in Steamboat, I'm visiting, or like I'm currently in Steamboat right now, not like for permanently, just for the week. But I'm like working during the day and then hanging out with my friend in the evening to do biking and like river things, who's also a friend that I met through SheJumps. She was the Colorado coordinator when I started, regional coordinator, and I was an event coordinator, and we just hit it off too. And like since then, we've like backpacked together. We went skiing in Canada this winter. It's just so cool. Like these things that you don't think will happen can come out of like being a part of this organization. There's just so many amazing people, which is really exciting. And then on top of that, like I'm also now working for SheJumps, which I never saw coming. So it's just amazing, like how much of an impact this organization can have, like not only on our participants, but also on our volunteers. So I think it's great, and I'm a big fan. And then with that, also, I'm going to really quickly pass it over to Vivian, who is another one of our staff members, and she has a little bit she wants to share with you.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Vivian. I'm based in Portland, Oregon. I'm the development manager, so I focus on mostly working with individual donors to fund all of our amazing programs and the work that we do. It's our biggest source of revenue. So it's really important for us. And it all really, as you can see, our staff team is like lean and mean, and we really funnel everything back into programs. And in particular, I just want to emphasize that like in the next, like we've really identified that like a big priority for us in the next years and going forward is continuing to pour a lot of resources into our volunteers, because SheJumps like wouldn't exist without our volunteers. You are all the most important part of what we do, and we're really continuing to grow that. And it's always sort of the focus of how we are talking about growth in a really sustainable way. And whenever I talk to supporters, they always say that the volunteers are one of the things that like really make SheJumps such a special organization. So it's, I just want to say that on all sides, the volunteers really, really matter to us. And we're really trying to put as much resources as we can to make that a good experience for you too. So we also hope that like, while you are giving so much of your resources and your time and your talent to volunteer for us, that you're also getting a lot out of it personally and professionally, all of that. Like we want it to be a very like relationship based thing for you and for us. So just want to like put that little cherry on top that you all matter so much, even that you showed up here. Really hope that you continue that and apply. So I'm gonna pass it back to Liz.
Oh, I forgot about unmuting. Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much for all of those just amazing contributions and just testimonials for SheJumps. And I hope that some of the things that our representatives here talked about inspired some questions or cleared things up. We really were hoping that this session could really just kind of open the door to a conversation with us as real people. So now we're going to open it up to some questions. And so I know it's a little weird with this webinar format, but we ask that you all engage with the Q&A box. So with Zoom, there's chat and Q&A. So if you look, I think it should be at the bottom of your screen. If you click on the Q&A box, you'll be able to submit your questions there. And I think there is a question, and it popped up and then went away. Okay, there it is again. Okay.
Sorry, I just answered it when someone was talking.
Oh, no, that's okay.
But we can share it out loud too.
That's okay. Yeah, my screen's like looking a little weird because of the screen sharing, but we can try to like move things around.
Liz, while you're doing that, I can just tell everyone what the question was. So
Yeah,
someone asked, what areas are you looking for volunteers right now? And so there's a blog post up on the SheJumps website that kind of spells out what we went through already in the presentation, but basically what the different positions are with like definitions and examples, and then also which specific geographic regions and states we're looking to fill positions in. And I think if you have a unique circumstance, like someone mentioned in the chat already, like someone in a certain region, but that's not listed on the list, feel free to reach out. And we're looking for great people. Very excited about it.
Okay. I think for Nicole Swanson, we had a question about like being between two areas. I think that you can just like maybe pick the area that you think you would be in more or want to do programming in more. If you're like between some areas where we're looking for volunteers, and you can always submit an application and just like let us know where you're at and what you think you can do within the area that you're in. A lot of these positions are based in specific areas because we already have a lot of support in those areas or like have structures implemented in those places. So if you live somewhere that's outside of one of those regions, it's either that we don't need any more volunteers in that region, or we just don't have those systems of support in those regions. But somewhere like Sacramento, between those two areas, like Tahoe and the Bay Area, that might be able to work out. I'd say just make it real clear on your application. Okay. Okay, we had a question for Mara from Olivia. Would you recommend starting as a regional coordinator or an event coordinator?
This is a great question. I was really excited to start as a regional coordinator. It was a great experience. I, in that role, got to really serve as a liaison between like SheJumps in Colorado and a lot of like local ski stores, bike shops, brands that are headquartered here. And I got to basically manage a team of like 15 volunteers across the state. So that's a pretty big job, and which is why we switched to a co-regional coordinator model in Colorado. There's a lot of geography and also a lot of interest here. And so for me, I wanted to focus more on I live outside of Denver, so like the Front Range in Summit County, and I had another regional coordinator in southwestern Colorado in Durango. So if you are looking for a role that allows you to kind of like serve as like a representative of SheJumps on a more statewide basis, and you have a little bit more time to commit, and you like helping other people plan events, like someone might come to you with like an idea, but they might not have all the tools to like set that event in motion. I got to work with them to really like develop that skill set. And I really enjoyed that. And then throughout the course of like last year, I realized like I want to be planning events. And so I just decided to shift my focus for this upcoming year. And so I think it'll be a little bit of a less time consuming role, but also more specifically focused on like the events that I personally am most passionate about. So it's really depends on like what you personally want to do, and then also how much time you commit.
And I might pop in really quick too. I think Mara had like an awesome answer and gave so many great like details and examples. One thing that I'll add, because I've also been in both roles, and this does vary per location. And obviously Mara was jumping into Colorado when there was like the kind of like a full new flush of team members coming on. So it was a lot all at once. But in general, I would say, and for a time commitment, like regional coordinator is one that like you have a more consistent like need for like your time, like you're doing stuff every month just by like managing your team. Whereas event coordinator, it might be like really intense for whenever you're planning your event, but it's not as consistent. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're like, sweet, I have like this many hours that I could do like every month, then maybe like regional coordinator might be more for you. Whereas if you're like, sometimes I'm like really busy and I'd want to really just like focus my efforts like these specific times of the year, that like lends itself a little better to event coordinator. And then I'll just go into the next question.
Okay, yeah, you feel good still talking?
Yeah, got this one.
Keep it going. Good.
Macy asked, how often is the volunteer application period open? We typically do it once a year. So this is kind of it for the year. The one like thing that I will note is that on-call volunteers, like you can apply or just sign up to be that whenever. It's not like the same full volunteer application. You can just do that through our website. And for that too, you'll automatically get added to like our email list for when we do open volunteer like recruitment for the more like the rostered roles. You'll be the first to get notified about those. There's that.
Okay, I could take the next one. Anne asked, what does the onboarding process look like? Training and orientation to the role. So we have a pretty in-depth training program. It's pretty robust because we want our volunteers to really feel prepared and like they have the resources that they need to step into whatever role that they're taking on confidently. So our training lasts like a minimum of 6 weeks is kind of like the window. And in that 6 weeks of training, we kind of go over different topics throughout the different weeks. And We do it primarily through Google Classroom so that you all can review the material at your own pace, but then we will have kind of like live events like this one to do any like additional trainings or more in-depth trainings or things where we want people to be able to interact with us more and ask more questions. So that process is somewhat self-directed, but then we do have some like in-person online trainings. And so within that, we hope that like once that training is done, you feel like you have a really solid foundation of understanding SheJumps as an organization, what historically has happened in different positions and roles in your areas, like technically what needs to happen behind the scenes to make an event happen, and then also what happens after an event to like wrap up an event. And then from there, you also will have the opportunity to receive more mentorship from your other local volunteers that are more experienced, and then also from your staff teams. So it's pretty robust. It's pretty robust training. And that's something from volunteers that we've heard. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback on. It's also can be a lot, but it is thorough. So there's always information if you're looking for it. Okay, I can do the next one. Julie asked for events if we have budgets or if you have to fundraise for different events. The answer is kind of tricky because it's like yes and no. We always appreciate when volunteers can fundraise at events. And sometimes you can fundraise to make an event happen, but it's not absolutely necessary. When we do ask for volunteers to fundraise and like look for other funds, that's like if you're trying to host a film screening event and we want to use like a local venue, and let's say the venue charges like $200 for a fee for you to have the venue for the night. We would ask that you like work with local partners to try to help cover that cost, just like as an example. But to put an event on, you don't necessarily need to fundraise ahead of time, but it is very situationally dependent. And we do ask that like each event is an opportunity for some fundraising. So you can put on a free event that is donation based. And so that's another way to like fundraise and still keep that going. One anonymous attendee asked, what have you found to be a challenging aspect of volunteering? So I'm gonna pass that over to any of the volunteers that feel called to answer a question about a challenging aspect of volunteering.
I'm happy to share something. I feel like I've been talking a lot and typing a lot, but just really quickly, for me, like I'm not super good at social media. So like I'll have a great event planned and then I struggle personally to advertise it to like my friends. I'll just like post on my story and be like, call it a day. So I feel like that has been a challenge for me personally, but like that's where the community ambassadors and the rest of your statewide team can really help in that regard. But I'd be interested to hear what other people share.
Yeah, I think along those lines, I think sort of reaching the right audiences is really tricky. Especially like in a state like California or Colorado that's really big and like, people are coming from different regions. So like for example, in California, we have, Bay Area events, but those are often planned in the South Bay, and I'm up, in the East Bay or the North Bay. And so using having the event coordinators communicating well with the rest of the team so that you can kind of reach those right audiences is really, really tough. And something I think we can work on going forwards for sure.
Okay, looks like we've got some other questions in here. Okay, Ashley's asking if you apply for a specific role if you are able to indicate interest in other positions, just in case you don't get offered your first choice. I think this is a great question, and probably a question that we should have included in our volunteer application. But the short answer is yes, of course. Please, like on your application, just state what your first choice is. If you have multiple choices, and just, clearly outline what other things you think you could contribute if you're not chosen for like the specific role that you want. Okay. My Q&A box is like cut off. It's like in a weird part of my screen. So I don't think I'm seeing quite all of the questions. So if I'm missing some, that's why.
I'll read one out that I think would be good for
Okay.
Some ideas. So are there certain characteristics or experiences that it would be good to mention or like share in the application itself as you are applying? It's kind of a tricky answer, I think. I think from my perspective, what's most important is you highlighting your strengths. You don't need to have any particular like outdoor program experience. Like that's not what we're really looking for. We're really looking for people who are like going to show up and be passionate to give in their time to volunteer. I think a cool thing we did with this application round is that we highlighted the SheJumps values in the application that we share as an organization that we really promote as much as we can. And we asked you all in the application to identify which values you connect the most with. And I think that's the thing I'm most excited to read about in your application, and just to get like a sense of what brings you here. And yeah, that's what's going to connect a lot for us, I think.
Yeah, and I think another thing to mention is that just like being yourself and like speaking whatever like authentic piece of you that you can share. Like we really value authenticity and honesty and care. So I think like if you stick to that, then your application will stand out. I think too, it's also worth mentioning, like Vivian said, we don't require outdoor programming experience, and we really do want this experience to be able to like be a space for you to share the strengths that you have, but also be a learning opportunity. And so if there are things that you want to learn, like we asked that question on the application because we want to learn how we can best serve you as a volunteer in your role and give you professional development that you're looking for, so that we can kind of help each other by working together. I just wanted to mention that really quickly as well.
Just to kind of bounce off what you Liz just said and Vivian about like kind of going off experience. I feel like sometimes coming into an environment like this, it can be a little bit daunting, being like, oh, these people have like those like not only like maybe outdoor education and programming experience, but also like they're athletes, like professional athletes. So if they've been doing like a sport for their entire lives, and there's that kind of like, I don't know, if you're like, oh, I'm not as good as them type of situation. And kind of how Liz was saying it, like, that's okay. Like we create our own little like hangout groups, and it really is a community. And it's just like, we just want you to kind of also grow as a person while you're volunteering with us. It's not only to have you like spend time like putting out like, you know, programming and like a bunch of things. It's also for you as a person. So just something to keep in mind, like there's a lot of room for growth within it. And yeah, just a little thought.
So much for sharing, Deanna. So true.
Yeah.
You got one, Sarah?
Well, yeah, I was say I can answer the next question, which looks like
Right.
Mara's also typing, but I will share this out loud. Olivia asked, what are examples of templated events? And that's a great question. It's one of those things that I feel like I throw out and maybe people don't know what I'm talking about. But we have as I was mentioning, there's so many different kinds of events that you can host, and we want to make it as easy as possible, especially for newer volunteers to host events and not feeling like they're starting from like square one with like, or zero with like having to create everything themselves. So we've gone and made these like templates, we call them toolkits, for how to host specific events. So like we have one for junior ski patrol, and essentially what it is it walks you through like the whole planning process of, and kind of like a timeline, like at this point you want to start reaching out to partners that you're going to work with, and at this point like you should be like opening registration, things like that. And then we also provide like curriculum that can be used at your events, like email templates to sign out or to send out to like participants, email templates to use for partners, email templates to use for volunteers. Really, it's like we're trying to create this so we can just like hand you this toolkit and you'll be like, sweet, I'm just going to follow it and I can host this event. And you don't have to like recreate the wheel. And those are things I actually make a lot of those, and we're always working to add more. So right now we have like a lot of our youth events have templates for how to do them. And similarly with like mountain bike maintenance or like ski tuning and waxing. And then we also, one of our volunteers actually just made an amazing one about just general community initiative events. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. It's hopefully to help you host an event without feeling like you need to like create it all yourself.
Okay, I can answer the next question from Glenda, which is, if you get a position and partway through you realize you would be better in another role, is there an option for movement, or do you stay in that role until there's another opportunity? I think this is a great question. We really hope that, like we've been kind of speaking to, that we want this position to feel like you can contribute something and you bring your strengths, but then like you can also grow and like learn, and sometimes those balances are just off with whatever you sign up for. And we never want you to feel trapped or stuck, or like you're doing something that you don't want to do, or that you're like, you know, not, you're like feeling like you're hitting your capacity. We want you to feel comfortable while also like learning and growing. So I think with that being said, if you sign up for something and it's not working out, we just ask for transparency. We want to know like what's not working, and what we could do to like make the situation better, if anything. And if not, then figuring out what else we can do. So I think the answer is yes, you can like move around the organization as needed. To an extent, like sometimes we have open positions and sometimes we don't, but in general, yes, you would have the opportunity to like work with us to co-collaborate on what success is going to look like for you as a volunteer. Okay, Sarah did that.
Also, real quick, just, I know we already answered this question, the examples of templated events, but it just came to mind, like events like national events such as Junior Ski Patrol, Well Skills, and Get the Girls Out. They're like national events that we kind of go in again with like the toolkit. We have like base guidelines or like expectations. They're not really strict expectations, but kind of like, this is how these events have happened throughout the years. This is what we feel might be the most successful for this year. So just kind of basing it off of that. And it's not so much, I think it's a little bit easier since it's just like such big programs that there's more structure to them, if that makes sense.
Good point, Dione. I just also want to keep an eye on time. We're just about at 6, and we've gone through most of the questions, if not all. But if you also have any follow-up, please reach out to all of us. The conversation doesn't just end here.
Yeah. So yeah, if you need to, feel free to hop off. I know I can stick around a little bit. Looks like Liz just answered it. So never mind, we're all set there. Okay, I think that all the questions have been answered currently in the chat.
Great. So yeah, as Vivian said, please feel free to follow up with us if any more questions do come up. In the application, there's an email address for our info ad account that will just like send you to me basically, and I'll be able to answer all the questions that you might have. And then we also had, I think Laura throw in, and some of our other volunteers throw in their email addresses if you'd like to reach out directly to them, which is an awesome thing. Thank you so much, volunteers, for doing that. But we really want people to feel some clarity in this process. And so if you're lacking any clarity, like, please feel free to reach out. No question is too small. We're really open to answering your questions and want to make sure that we are as transparent as possible with you all, so that we can make this experience the best possible experience for you. Anything else to share before we go, other panelists and hosts?
I'm so excited you're here.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming
Yeah.
tonight.
I hope to
Thank you
see
all
a
so
bunch of
much.
new Salt Lake faces in the next couple of weeks. So
Do it for Dione.
yes, please. We need help.
Great. Okay. Well, we will be sending up a follow-up email to all of our registered attendees. So feel free to go back and rewatch this if you missed any part of it. Or if you want to share with anybody else that has some questions, feel free to share with them. And we hope to see your applications soon. Our application window is going to close for the year on July 5th. So you have another week to get those in. And like I said, please feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. We're so excited you're here. Okay. Stop the share. Okay, I think we can say bye.
Yes.
Okay.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.